In this tutorial, we extract text from a PDF document using the DynamicPDF API's PDF text endpoint. The way it works is your local system sends a PDF to the PDF text endpoint as a POST request. The DynamicPDF API then processes a PDF to extract the needed text and creates a JSON document to hold the text. The JSON document containing the text is then returned from the endpoint to the client. So let's go ahead and start by going to the DynamicPDF API website and logging into the portal. So log in. You must first have a DynamicPDF API account before you can complete this tutorial. You can sign up using your Google or Microsoft account, or you can create a local account. But I already have an account, so I'm going to log in to the DynamicPDF API. Click Login and log in to the portal. After logging into the portal, you're first taken to the dashboard. Now navigate to the File Manager and then select Add Samples to open the Add Sample dialog. Now check the Extract Text Sample. Click Add to add the sample to your Samples folder. And let's see, download fw4.pdf from the Extract Text folder. After downloading, I moved the files to the following folder. Let's consider using the example using Postman. Navigate to the DynamicPDF API documentation. Select User's Guide, and then API. Click PDF Text in the documentation. The PDF text endpoint takes a POST request containing the PDF. Now, don't let the fact that we're using a file throw you. Of course, you could send raw binary if you wished, but here we're using a file. The endpoint has two query parameters, a start page and a page count. The start page is a page to start extracting text, while the page count is the number of pages to extract from the start. The authorization header parameter is your API key, and the body is the PDF to send for processing as binary. We want to run it in Postman, so click the Run in Postman button. Click the Run in Postman button, and it takes us to Postman. It asks us if we want to simply view the collection, import a copy, or fork the collection. Let's leave the fork label as is and accept the workspace. Here, I'm assuming my personal workspace. Click the button and fork the collection. After the collection is forked, we can now work with it in Postman. Click Environments, then click DynamicPDF API. Okay, we need to set the API key. Return to the portal and go to API keys. Copy the API key to your clipboard. Close the key to the current value property. Persist and then save the modified environment. Now select the PDF text endpoint. The PDF text endpoint takes a PDF document and returns the text as JSON. Go up here to the right and change the environment to DynamicPDF API. Select Headers and notice the API key is now reflected from the environment. Click Body to return to the Body tab. Let's add the file fw4.pdf. So go ahead and add it. Click Send and the endpoint returns the PDF's text as a JSON document. Now note this endpoint can also take a start page and a page count as query parameters. Let's change the request to only return the text from the second page of the PDF. Go to Params and add the start page parameter. Start page takes a numeric value that specifies the page to start extracting text. Now add the page count parameter and set its value to 2. Page count takes a numeric value that specifies the number of pages to extract, starting at the start page. Add the file back to the request. Click Send, and the text from only the first 2 pages is returned by the endpoint. Now let's use the DynamicPDF.NET client library with endpoint. I assume that you have already downloaded the .NET Client Examples project from GitHub, and I assume that you have opened it in Visual Studio. Let's start by first building the solution. Wait for it to build. Now open the Extract PDF text project and open Program. Notice the namespace dependency on DynamicPDF Client Library Examples. Expand dependencies, and ensure the DynamicPDF Client Library Examples project is listed as a dependency. Also, notice the DynamicPDF Client Library was added, and it's the latest version. The Extract PDF text class has a base path constant specifying the path to the PDF resource we will fetch. The API key is, of course, your key in cloud storage that you get from the apps and API keys in the portal. Then, in the main method, we have one line of code that calls the PDF text example class's static run method. This class is in the DynamicPDF Client Library Examples project, so let's open it. Right-click and select Go to Definition. Notice the PDF text example class's static run method. It takes the API key in the base path. It then creates a new PDF resource instance, loading the fw4.pdf as the resource in the constructor. Then it creates a new PDF text instance, passing the PDF resource instance to its constructor. Then it sets the start page and the page count, then the API key. And then the PDF text instance calls its process method to invoke the endpoint. After processing, it returns the response. Then we get the response's JSON content and print it to the console. Let's ensure that extracted PDF text is the selected choice. Run the application, and the first 2 pages of the PDF's text is returned as JSON, as you see here. Now let's use the endpoint with the Java client library. I assume you've downloaded the DynamicPDF API examples project from GitHub and imported it to Eclipse as a Maven project. After opening the project, open the POM file. Now let's check that the DynamicPDF client library version is the latest. It's the latest version, so let's build the application. Right-click, Run as, Maven Build. Wait for it to build. Okay, now that it's built, navigate to the Extract Text Java file and open the file. The class has a static main method that calls its static run method. Note that it takes an API key and the directory to the class's resources. Go to the DynamicPDF Cloud API examples, and we see the API key. The API key is, of course, your key in cloud storage that you get from the apps and API keys in the portal. It also has a base directory and output path as global variables. Let's ensure the required resources are there by going to the Resources folder that's listed as the base directory. Okay, the resources are there, so we're good to go. Now, returning to the extract text class, let's look at the run method. In its run method, it takes the API key and the base path. Then, using the PDF needed from resources, it creates a new PDF resource. Next, it creates a new PDF text instance from the PDF resource instance. It then sets the start page and the page count. Then it sets the API key. And then the PDF text instance calls its process method to invoke the endpoint. After it completes the call, it returns the response as JSON. If successful, it prints the PDF text to the console. Otherwise, it prints the error. Go ahead and run the extract text class as a Java application. Right-click, Run As, Java Application. Wait for it to run. And the first 2 pages of the PDF's text is returned as JSON. Now let's use the Node.js client library with the endpoint. I assume you downloaded the Node.js client examples project from GitHub. I also assume you obtained the client library using npm and that you have the project opened in Visual Studio Code. Open the extracttext.js file. First, it defines the extractText class. Then the static run method is set to asynchronously process when called. First, it creates a new PDF resource instance from the PDF resource. It creates a PDF text instance from the PDF resource instance. Then it sets the API key. The API key is, of course, your key in cloud storage that you get from the apps and API keys in the portal. It then sets the start page and the page count. Then it calls the process method and waits for it to complete. If successful, it then prints the response as JSON. Otherwise, it returns the error message to the console. Finally, it calls the extractText class's run method and waits for it to complete. Let's run the application. In the terminal, type node extract text. Hit return, and the first 2 pages of the PDF's text is printed to the terminal. Let's consider the example using the PHP client library. I assume you obtained the PHP client library from GitHub and that you have installed the DynamicPDF API client library using Composer, and that you have the project opened in Visual Studio Code. Open the extractTextExample.php file to open the example. The static run method takes the API key and the base path. Now in the PHP example, it gets the path from DynamicPDF Examples.php, so let's open it. And there's the API key, which of course is coming from the Apps and API key panel in the portal. And then it sets the base path and the output path. Let's go ahead and make certain that the resources are in the resources folder. They are, so we're good. Now we need to make sure we don't run this class. Remember, this is just to run all the examples. So scroll down. Now let's go ahead and comment out DynamicPDF Examples run. That's so that this won't be run when we invoke it from the command line. Now return to extract text example, and let's look at the run method again. Resource takes a new PDF resource instance from our PDF. It then loads the PDF resource into a PDF text instance. We set the API key. We call the process method and get the response. If it's successful, we print the JSON content to our terminal. Otherwise, we print out the error. Uncomment the extract text example run line so that we run the class as method in PHP. Go to the terminal and type php extract text example.php. Hit return, and the first 2 pages of the PDF's text is printed to the terminal. Let's consider the example using the Python client library. I assume you've downloaded the Python client examples from GitHub. I also assume that you've installed the DynamicPDF API using pip, and that you have the project opened in Visual Studio Code. Open the file pdftextexample.py. It first defines a PDF text example method that takes the API key and the path to the resource. Now, the API key and path both come from a file called shared.py, so let's open it. First, it defines the API key, which of course is coming from the portal. Next, it sets the base path where it stores the resources. Let's go ahead and make certain that the resources are in the resources folder. They are, so we're good. Close the shared file and return to PDF text example. Then, using the PDF needed from resources, it creates a new PDF resource. Next, it creates a new PDF text instance from the PDF resource instance. Then it sets the API key. It then sets the start page and the page count. And then the PDF text instance calls its process method to invoke the endpoint. Then it prints the response to the console. And finally, it defines the PDF text example as the main method to run when invoking this class from Python. Okay, let's run the class in the terminal. Take Python PDF text example.py in the terminal to run the example. Hit return. And the first 2 pages of the PDF's text is printed to the terminal. Let's consider the example using the Go client library. I assume you've downloaded the Go client examples from GitHub. I also assume you've downloaded the DynamicPDF client API for Go using the following go get command, and that you have the project opened in Visual Studio Code. Open the PDF text example.go file to open the example. It first creates a new PDF resource, passing the path to the PDF resource from the local file system. Then it creates a new PDF text instance, passing the resource, the start page, and the page count as parameters. Then it sets the base URL. Then it sets the API key. The API key is, of course, your key in cloud storage that you get from the apps and API keys in the portal. Then it calls the process method to call the PDF text endpoint and return the response. After returning the response, it prints the JSON to the terminal. Now let's run the example in the terminal. In the terminal, type go run PDF text example.go. Hit return. And the first 2 pages of the PDF's text is printed to the terminal. And that's the PDF text endpoint. The PDF text endpoint is a useful endpoint for quickly extracting text from a PDF document and returning it formatted as JSON. Note that in all 6 client libraries, the processing was the same. It creates a new PDF resource, creates a new PDF text instance from the PDF resource, optionally sets a start page and a page count, calls a PDF text process method to invoke the endpoint. Then after processing, it returns the PDF text as a JSON document. I'm James, Developer Evangelist at DynamicPDF, reminding you, when you think PDF, think DynamicPDF API. See you next time.